Good morning, students. We're going to talk a little bit about the parathyroid glands. I know you didn't have a question about those, but we just talked about question number 16 about calcitonin, and that was on Friday's video. So we looked at the activity of calcitonin, but we see the last bullet point here says that calcitonin is antagonistic to parathyroid hormone. So I just wanted to discuss that for just a moment. So we saw the activity of this calcitonin. Now let's look at parathyroid hormone that is produced by the parathyroid glands that are on the posterior surface of the thyroid. You can see them right here. And basically what calcitonin did is it wanted to decrease the amount of calcium in the blood. All right. The parathyroid hormone is actually doing the opposite of that. So it's wanting to increase calcium levels in the blood. When that stimulus came, to the hypothalamus, that regulation center, and passed, by the parathyroid glands, there's that noticing of homeostatic imbalance in the body. So these glands are triggered to release their hormone, parathyroid hormone, into the blood to get that calcium level back up. The way that it does this is it's acting as a target. Its target is osteoclasts. And remember, these are bone cells that destroy bone tissue. And the purpose of that destruction is so that we can remove that calcium from the bone tissue where it's been stored and get it into the bloodstream when it's needed. And we remember the importance of calcium in terms of like nerve impulse transmission, stimulating muscles to contract, things like that. So there's definitely an importance in getting that blood level of calcium back up. Another way it does it is by targeting the kidneys and the intestines to absorb more calcium into the blood. Okay, so here's another diagram of that. When I share this slide presentation with you, you'll have it, but you actually have it in your slides presentation already. Okay, so I've just modified the presentation a little bit to fit with our questions. Okay, so here, examining this diagram, you can see what I've just explained. Okay, so moving to a different diagram. So this is a homeostasis diagram, but it's actually only taking two targets. Here we're talking about the target of the bone. Of each of these antagonistic hormones. Here we see the calcitonin released. Here we see that that's in response to rising blood calcium levels. Here on this other side of this balance beam of sorts, we see that calcium blood levels have fallen and how the body responds to that by activating this parathyroid gland, secreting the parathyroid hormone and its target of the osteoclasts in the bone. Although remember, they're still targeting the kidneys and the intestines, but only the bone tissue is shown in this diagram. Okay, hopefully that helps. So let's move to question number 17. So before we read the question, the adrenal glands that sit on the superior margin of the kidneys, I know you guys have studied a lot about those as you've done your questions and your notes and that kind of thing. So we just want to talk about one of the groups of these adrenal cortex hormones. But just to show you that there are two regions, the outer cortical region is called the adrenal cortex. And actually, it's this lining right here and this tissue right here. And then in the middle, you have what's called the adrenal medulla. Okay, so we'll take a closer look at that. First of all, looking at the cortex, basically it secretes three different groups of hormones: the mineralocorticoids, the glucocorticoids, and the sex hormones. So this is the cortex that we see right here between these two brackets. And so within that cortex, you have these three different regions that secrete three different groups of hormones. Okay. And your question is, what do the mineralocorticoids do in the body, and what is their target organ in accomplishing this? So looking at that group of mineralocorticoids, basically what they do is they regulate mineral content in the blood. And I hope you can see that right here in its name, and that becomes kind of a help to you to see what they do. And so basically what they're doing is they're targeting the kidney tubules, and they're tiny microscopic structures that I will show you in the urinary system when we get there. But they act on those kidney tubules